Okay, so how you doing tonight? My name's Chris Allen. I'm a young man from Ohio, a father, a minister, uh, a friend, brother, what have you. So I'm just gonna shoot a quick video. It's a topical video. Um, I'm gonna be just doing an ad lib, maybe sort of a rant, sort of an informational rant on a topic that I believe is a very popular topic amongst black people. A very popular topic, even in here in the 21st century, and that is slavery. I believe I'm going to name this video uh, "What You Don't Really Want to Know About Slavery." Okay, so I posted, I made a Facebook post a little bit earlier. It was something to the effect of who benefits from slavery always being in the forefront of our minds, and who does it harm? Something along, kind of like jokes on us, this is coming off the hinges of the whole Kanye West comments and stuff like that. And, you know, whatever side you're on, whatever you believe that he made sense by that, I'm sure he had a point. Um, Credibility is an issue there. I'm not a mainstream guy. And there's a few things that you need to know about me to understand my point of view before I get into the subject content. Okay. Um, so I'm a man who is very aware that mainstream media conversation is very controlled and calculated. Okay, and so whenever a topic of discussion becomes mainstream, it's usually planted there, and it's usually for a purpose. Um, and that's one thing you need to know about me. I've come to accept some things uh, about everyday life and the world that we live in that most people will not, because maybe their conscience just isn't ready for it. Okay, we live in a very corrupt, very deceptive culture and society and world, and there's a lot of controlling going on, and it's mainly done through the media, more specifically social media. Usually, my opinion is influenced by that knowledge. Okay, so you need to know that about me. And if you're a person who's very trusting of the establishment, you're very you're like a staunch Republican or a staunch Democrat, and you think we're gonna vote somebody in office that's gonna come and change things, um, economically and racially. If you're one of those people and you have a lot of faith in politics and government, you're not gonna agree with a lot of my material. Also, what you need to know is if you're black like me and you live in America, if you have this gullibility, this desperation factor that most of our people have, and you see in the world from that viewpoint, you're not going to agree with a lot of my material. I've never been a follower, never been a main street type of guy, and I've always been the type to kind of sit back and watch how things play out and watch how things affect people. Okay, that is my point of view, and you need to know those two things about me mainly, because that's the point of view I'm coming from. Okay, very objective when it comes to things, major topics like faith and religion, or politics, or racism, racial inequality, injustice, uh, political parties. Very objective, and I believe that when you hear me say that word a lot, objective, 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 because I believe that a person who allows themselves to be influenced by mainstream rhetoric, by popular opinion, by popular culture, does not have a clue about anything. If that's you, your opinion's being fed to you every day, and you probably don't know it. So you have a lot of people talking about a lot of stuff, and however they view the world, however they feel, is pretty much been given to them. So I'm an advocate of free thinking and just seeing things as for what they are. I like to get my own information. I like my own commentary. I like for you to just give me the data and let me sort it out, and I'll base my beliefs upon that. So let's talk about slavery. Let's talk about slavery. I mean, we want to talk about it. And let me start this with this. Remember, I'm ad libbing this. I'm going to start this with a story. This is a true story, and it's going to segue perfectly into the content of this video. Okay, so this is a story. This is a true story. About the year 2008. I remember hearing about that we were going to have a black president Well, this guy, is a new candidate, somebody who was black, possibly that could get nominated. And I hadn't heard of Barack Obama. I won't dwell on this briefly. It's just a story, and it will give you a good idea about where I'm going with this video and what my point of view is. Um, just to fast forward, so he became our president. So here we go. So now we have every black person's best case scenario ever in America. Okay, we have our first black president, and he is a Democrat. Okay, so I remember in the churches, everybody's crying and rejoicing, and the Joshua generation. He's going to pick up where Martin Luther King left off. We're going to paint the White House black. All this racism going to be knocked out. We're going to change some policy. We're going to get some justice. All of this stuff, going to change, right? It's time for a change. I think that was the slogan. It's time for a change, right? Okay. Fell for a hook, line, and a sinker. I didn't, because we're talking about a president of the United States. Okay. But hey, I'm watching this happen. This is in 2008. For 8 years, we had a black president in the White House who was also a Democrat. Now, this is what is thought to be kind of like the minority friendly party. And we have a black man in office. Wow. But here we are in the year 2018, and the racial climate is worse than it's ever been. What happened during those 8 years? What happened during those 8 years to help? Let me tell you what did happen. Let me tell you what happened. During the 8 years that we had a black president who was a Democrat in office, there were more slavery-based movies with harsh depictions of the slavery experience released in that 8-year period, double, quadruple than ever. I'm talking about major motion pictures, A-list actors and actresses released during his presidency. Okay. And, that's our obligation. That's our obligation to slavery. We got to go see these movies because, we got to celebrate slavery. That's our history, right? That's our history. Okay. Is it? That's our history. It's the only history we know is slavery. So we got to go support those movies, not realizing the conditioning that's taking place. We're getting emotional. We're getting angry about them, watching ourselves getting whipped, watching all the horrors of slavery. And as cinematography gets more advanced, these movies become more and more intense. They leave an impression. It's part of conditioning. This during the term of a black president who was also a Democrat. Okay. What else happened during those 8 years was that what was always happening, which is blacks being gunned down in the street, unarmed, innocent, being shot by police. Now this becomes mainstream, and on your TV every few days you see a black man or a black person getting gunned down for no reason. I'm not saying it wasn't always happening, but now it's in our faces. None of this is a coincidence. I'm watching this happen. I'm watching. Hey, how you doing, man? I'm watching the racial climate in our country become chaotic, and the lines are being drawn. People who had forgot they were racist are now remembering, like, yeah, I don't like white people. I don't like black people. You know what I mean? It's like now I'm watching this whole racial pot start boiling and cooking and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we got a black president. Like, why don't he hold some accountability, something? Hold somebody accountable, like do something, say something, pass something, propose something, do something. Okay. All of this is happening when it shouldn't be happening. Okay. I'm not saying for whatever reason this is happening. All of a sudden, all of this burst of slavery movies with all these harsh images that remind us, all of these brutal killings, this media rhetoric that divides us and keeps us on one side, political sides, racial sides, having to pick sides all the time. All of this tension is building up during this 8 years. I don't know who's responsible, but I'm saying that somebody was sending a message during this term. Okay. I don't know if it was somebody else daring him, like, hey, black president, do something about it, say something, or something else. I don't know. A conspiracy theorist will say that's the Liberal Party for you. Um, a petty politician will say that was the Republicans daring him to do something about it. Okay. But none of this is a coincidence. So I'm watching this. You probably never heard this described like this. Okay. I'm watching this happen. You cannot tell me that this is not a coincidence. But here we are, the topic of slavery. Okay. So every now and then it gets brought up. Okay. I've noticed the number of slavery movies diminish since the black president is not in office anymore. That's for sure. I don't know if any major ones have been released. But I know that it left its impression. So now here we are with Kanye West comments. Once again, black people are divided. We're arguing amongst each other. We're bickering. And so I posed a question. What good does this do us to always have to come back to this? The reason I pose this question is because it doesn't do us any good. There's no progress. Somehow we've gotten to the point to where we think um, talking about something is equivalent to doing something about it. Talking about slavery and not doing anything about it, or advancing the conversation, um, is just beating a dead horse. It's just getting us in our emotions all over again, getting us angry again, and just causing more division. Not just division between us and the other man, but division is divisive. Okay, because we're fighting each other about it. That's what we do good. And here's how you end this conversation. Here's how you end any argument when it comes to our people. You start talking about unifying, and you start talking about organizing and mobilizing, and we scatter like cockroaches. I do it on purpose. I do it purposely on Facebook timelines. When we start arguing about stuff, I'll start bringing up the unity factor. Well, here's what we need to do about it, because you guys are focusing on a problem. What are we going to do? Because I'm available. Do you guys want to hook up and meet, and we can talk about doing some time? Thread goes dead. The thread goes dead every time. I do it on purpose just to see. Okay. I cannot tell you how many times here in Stark County where I want to mobilize with local people. Listen, mobilizing, activism isn't my strength. Um, but I can get in there and do some things. I try to work with local people. They can't handle me being saved. When they find out that I'm a minister, that I preach the gospel, they don't want to do the work anymore. I'm like, wait a minute, weren't we trying to help the community? Weren't we trying to help the kids or do something here? You worried about my affiliation, my belief system. So what was your real purpose anyway? Were you really trying to help us? Or you just need people who think like you to do it? Because you're not going to do it without the black church. There are just factors that you don't understand. There are intangible factors that you don't understand, and you don't know how to handle them. That's why all of the work that you do amounts to nothing, because we need to be in the conversation, because we can handle the things that you can't understand. There are other forces that you don't want to mess with that we know how to handle. Okay? It's not just about the work of our hands. It's not just about the work of our hands. So let's talk about slavery then, okay? Since we want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Since we always want to go there and talk about it and never ask the right questions, we just want to beat the dead horse. I hear stuff like, well, we need to talk about it because we can't ever forget what they did to us. Okay, well, I learned about it in grade school. Okay, I learned very thoroughly by junior high that the nation we live is very racist, very corrupt, very shady. I learned that as a kid. You can't show me too much material that's gonna I get it. So how much more do I need to see? How much stuff you're gonna post, or how much dirt you're gonna dig up to paint a picture that we already know it's corrupt. The system is corrupt, and it's against us. Okay, we get it. We know. So now what? My point is always to advance the conversation. We know what it is, so what do we do to improve our situation? So let's talk about slavery then, okay? And this is where I would like to change this conversation and make it a productive. If we're going to talk about it, let's be productive, okay? So let's talk about slavery. Slavery was always historically about free labor. It was about not having to pay people for labor. It's convenient, it's evil, but it's convenient. Um, Ancient Egypt, you had black Egyptians enslaving black Hebrews. They built a very amazing culture for free, and all they did was just gave them enough scraps to keep them alive. Okay, the 1% of that population accumulated all the wealth, and just like a pyramid, um, there was barely a middle class, and then this extreme lower class who got the crumbs, and then there were the slave laborers. Okay, slavery historically was always about free labor. Okay, so now let's just fast forward until now. So now our people, our ancestors from this country at least, are now brought here for free labor. Here's two things that stick out about what I would consider modern slavery, um, which is the most recent act of slavery as far as our people in this nation. Here's what different. Here's what's different. Here's what stands out. One, because when you're talking about the 15, 1600s, um, these are supposed to be more civilized times. Okay, so slavery is not supposed to be something that civilized people do, let alone this culture, this European culture. Europeans, British, these are supposed to be the most civilized people on the planet. Okay, but here we are in civilized times, in modern times with slavery. That's one thing that sticks out. Another thing is the sheer brutality of it. Okay, because rarely did you see the amount of hatred and brutality applied to slavery. Historically, many cultures didn't have bad relations with their slaves. Even in the law of Moses, there are provisions for the slave and master relationship. Now, this wasn't like systemic, slavery, but it was kind of like to pay off debt. Let's just say if I couldn't pay you for something that you gave me, I would become your slave for an amount of time. I would work off that debt, and during that time, you would be my master. I would be your slave, and there was even laws in the law of Moses that govern that relationship, so it could remain an honorable relationship. This slavery is something that was different altogether. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a clue here, because we thought in our arrogance that this whole thing was just about us being black. How arrogant is that? So the European man comes to Africa one day and sees how athletic we are, and we're well endowed, and well, we got to get these people under surveillance because one day they could grow up and be a great nation and take over the world. No, that's arrogant, that's foolish, and that's stupid. I'm talking about here's what we don't ask about slavery. Why this? You're talking about, aside from free labor, because now in the 16, 17, we had the technology to do cotton fields and all this other stuff slaves did. This slavery was different from any other slavery in history because not only did it involve free labor, but what else? Emasculation of men, separation of families, the erasing of a culture of people, the systematic division of a culture of people, of a race of people, belittling, desensitizing, dehumanizing. All of these new elements are being added. The sheer brutality of it, even when you have manuals and teachings and books, here's how you deal with these people. They were actually being taught how to systematically dismantle a race of people. Why does that happen? This is what we haven't asked. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? Who benefits from it? Who benefits when you erase the very history of a person? That's more than slavery to me. That's far beyond me being brown. There's something else there when you systematically erase one's culture and history. So I know I talk about how desperate we are, how gullible we are as a people, how we want to be Asian, we want to be Italian, we want to be white, we want to be Egyptian, we want to be everything but who we are because it looks good. Or anytime it looks like anybody's going to give us a handout or is for us, we jump on the bandwagon. Anything that sounds good, we take it as law. Why do we do that? That's why, because we don't know who we are. That's part of the reason why you do that, why you dissect a race. But there's more than that. So if you're going to talk about slavery, we need to ask why. Why you and why me? Okay. Yeah, there's oppression going on in Africa, in the continent of Africa, but not like what happened here with us, with these people here, with these black people here. There's something different going on. Have you ever wondered why? The systematic break. So here's my point. This slavery experience was not about slavery at all. It was about the systematic monitoring, dismantling, and erasing of a culture and a people's history. Why do you do that? That's not about slavery. It has never been about slavery. So why then? You want me to tell you? Do you want me to tell you why? Have you asked? Did you? I mean, did you stop to think at, or did you just think it was because thick thighs and muscles and we can jump out the gym and all that we don't want to get them out of control. They'll take over the world. Physicality doesn't rule the world. Doesn't take over the world. And black people never want to rule the world anyway. That's not how we set up. We're set up to agree. So I got news for you, okay? This conversation needs to change. If we're going to have it, why beat a dead horse? We know it was wrong. We know it was brutal. We know it was disgusting. But we don't know why, because we don't talk about it. And we never stop to think about it. Why do you erase a person's history and have them satisfied with just being called black? We don't call Asian people yellows. And they just respond to it. They say, no, I'm Korean. No, I'm Cantonese. No, I'm from the Philippines. No, I'm Chinese. No, I'm Japanese. And even white people, they know some of their hair. They know if they're German or Irish, but we don't know anything. We just know we're black and we're from America. The only history we know is slavery, and you can't deny that isn't part of our history, but it's not our original culture and heritage. We don't know our culture. We don't know our heritage. And why? Why don't we? Why are we so gullible and desperate? Now, do you really want the answer? I don't think you do. But I'm going to give you a hint. Sorry. Okay? This is a Holy Bible. This is one source. This is one source and probably the main source. It will tell you. It will tell you why. Now all of a sudden you don't want to know, do you? You don't want to know now. Oh yeah. Oh, you got to pick up the book now. Oh boy. Oh boy. Uh-oh. Oh my. Oh, now you got to pick up the book. If you really want to know, if you want to stop guessing and taking stabs at it, beating a dead horse, getting angry all over again and not getting anywhere and not having a real discussion. But why? And who are we anyway? Who are we? Okay? You're going to have to go to the book. Sorry. And that's why we're so desperate to go believe something else, because we act like we want to know the truth. But when it comes, then it's like you can't handle the truth. You're going to have to go to spirituality. You're going to have to address faith. You're going to have to go to the Holy Scriptures because it's in there. You want to know why? You're going to have to go to the Word of God. Now, this comes with a disclaimer, okay? This is what you didn't want to hear about slavery. This is why that conversation stays in its infantile stages. What they did to us. They beat us. They did us wrong. They hate us. Nah, 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 wah, wah, wah. That's why that conversation stays there, because when you advance that conversation, you have to get some substance. It takes some thinking. It takes some research. It takes some praying, some believing, and it takes some identification, and it takes some accountability. That's why we don't want to advance the conversation. I would like to advance it. Let's have the conversation. If you want to talk about slavery, let's really talk about it. Let's be real, though. Let's get to the bottom of it. And what are we going to do as a people? Okay, because slavery was always more than whips and chains. Yeah, we're past that stage of it, but there is still this issue of sin, and there's still this issue of being a follower of everything that looks good. It's still being a follower of the world, followers of media, followers of rap stars, followers of actors and actresses, followers of weird belief systems. Okay, there's still that. That is slavery. That is slavery. Okay, it's not making your own choices. It's being bound and not free and not liberated. Okay, that's where the conversation goes. I'm not going to get all the way into it. I don't like to give everything. I like to inspire for people to look into things themselves. Okay, there's some things I'm not going to look into, but things that matter, I will take time and look into it myself. Okay, and I want to leave you with this. When you go, because this is important. When you look into the scriptures, into the Holy Bible, you're looking to find the truth. Okay? But it has to be more than just the color of our skin. If that's what you're really looking for, don't open the Bible. If you're looking for the truth and you want to strip everything you think you know, and you just want the truth, You cannot bring an axe to grind. You cannot bring a grudge here. You cannot bring your bitterness and open up this holy scripture. You can't bring that, because you're going to miss it. You'll find your identity. You will find your validation. You will find your affirmation. You will find who you are, and you will find who you belong. But you cannot bring that anger and that bitterness that you've been trained to operate in by the desensitization of media, racism, emotionalism, slavery, and all these other topics that come up so we can't see things clearly. You have to drop that stuff. If you really want answers, if you really want to know, if you really want to have a clue. Okay? But this word is sacred. It is the word of God. You have to come right with the right intentions. It has to be bigger than the color of your skin, or you're going to miss it, and you will be in a worse state than what you are now. But I promise you, if you just want to know the truth, you will find it. And you will see why believers, when this topic of slavery comes up and everybody else is all stressed out and in a rut about it, in a muck, and we sit back sipping tea, you're going to know why we ain't pressed about it anymore. Okay? We've overcome. Believers are the only ones who've overcome bondage. Believe me. Okay? You'll know why. And you don't have to be a believer. But if you want to have a clue, you're going to have to dig in this word. Sorry. Hey, so there is the truth about slavery. It's what you didn't want to know. It's what you didn't want to hear. So you can keep having that conversation. You can keep going to see your movies and get all in your emotions, so you can go about life letting emotions and anger and bitterness run your decisions, never seeing anything clearly, falling for everything that gets served to you. You can do that, or you can start really searching for answers, the only place you're going to get them. Okay? And that choice is up to you. Okay? I hope I was nice. I think I did a really good job of being nice, because I can kind of go off when it comes to this stuff. I'm tired of being them gullible, desperate people who fall for anything. That shouldn't be us. We are an awesome people, and we just deserve better, but nobody's going to give it to us. We got to do it ourselves. It's okay to talk about unity. It's okay to come out of that comfort zone of going to work and coming home in the safety of your home and arguing and bickering on social media and thinking that's some type of activism. It's okay to reach out to your brother or your sister. It's okay to reach out to people who aren't black. Build relationships. I'm not preaching separate. I'm just dealing with our people because we need dealt with. I'm not a segregationist. I love people. Seriously, if you know me, you know I love people, but I'm making this video to address blacks because we need addressed. Everybody else, nobody else needs addressed like we need addressed, okay? So it's okay to reach out of that comfort zone, but if you can't do it, if you can't get out on the streets, if you can't help, if you can't mentor the young ones, if you can't volunteer, if you can't do something to make your community, your culture, your race better, you need to just shut up and sit down, honestly, and just stop talking. Because I'm as busy as anybody else, but I make time to do something, to make some kind of difference, one person at a time, okay? So it's time for action. Stop talking so much. We talk too much. We talk too much. As much as we talk, we need to be ready to do. And if you can't do something as simple as just reach out to another brother or sister and just start the conversation of just uniting and being brotherly. If you can't even do that, you just need to stop. Honestly, you're one of the ones who need to stop. You need to just go sit down somewhere and just be miserable and uninformed and ineffective, and just go back to your comfort zone. Just go sit down somewhere. Okay. But if you really that angry, if you're really that black and angry, support black business, support local business, do some kind of mentorship, do some kind of public speaking, donate some money somewhere that's going to do some good. Okay, get over our differences. Listen, I'm not threatened by your affiliation, by your wokeness, or your Christianity, or your Hebrew Israelitism, or your Judaism, or your Africa Bambataism, or your Egyptology, or your liberalism, or your conservatism. I'm not threatened by any of that stuff. Okay, be that. But if we can hook up and make some positive things happen, I don't care about that stuff. Let's make positive things happen. Don't be scared of me being saved. Okay. It's okay. It's really okay. Okay. Because I'm not intimidated by that stuff you into. Honestly, if we can work together and help somebody, then that's what we need to do. Black people, get over yourself. Get over these differences. Nobody's going to agree with you. People are pretty set in their ways. Okay. And just, okay. So whatever. So let's do some work then. Bring that weird stuff and let's do some work. Okay. And go home and do your weird stuff. I'm going to do my weird stuff. If you don't judge me for being saved, I won't judge you for being whatever it is that you are, okay? Because you would think I was weird if I wasn't saved anyway. And I kind of agree with you, okay? So that's that. That's what you didn't want to hear about slavery. I wanted to keep it about 15 minutes or under, but it's a lot there, and I could talk for an hour. I haven't gotten deep. I'm still on the surface here, okay? But listen, if you really want to know, hit me up. Hit up somebody who has a clue. We'll talk about slavery. We'll get somewhere with it, though. Okay? We'll get somewhere with it. We'll make some kind of progress and get some productive conversation out of black people. Okay? So let's do that. Let's do that, y'all. Okay? Peace. Shalom. Love y'all. God bless y'all. I hope you learned something. I hope you're motivated. I hope you're sparked. I hope I wasn't mean or offensive. If I was, I'm so sorry. I do not mean to be that way. I get kind of heated when it comes to this topic, okay? Because I just want to see us do better, and we seem not to want to. Okay, but we can, okay? All right, so that's all I got. God bless you. I'm going to get to work now. You have a good night.